name is John and I will be your host. Today we're going to talk about the topic, I want to lose weight, something that so many people have said and are saying, and yet relatively few of those have been able to attain the goal of losing weight, or they were able to lose weight, but they've been unable to maintain that weight loss. Today, we're going to look at some of the principles that underlie this particular goal or desire. In other words, some practical ways in which we can go about to achieve this goal and to maintain this goal. We are not going to look at specific weight loss techniques and tools as such. There are literally thousands of those available on the internet, and many of them are tested and tried. We're going to look more at the principles, psychological principles, if I can put it that way, that are really very important to understand, as I said, to achieve this goal and to maintain this goal. The first mistake that people make, and I'm particularly talking about those who have tried to lose weight and either are not able to lose it, or they've been able to lose some weight and not able to maintain the weight loss. The first mistake they make is making the statement, I want to lose weight. The truth is, if I can put it maybe oversimplistically, if I wanted to lose weight, I would do so. This whole situation goes much deeper than just simply the desire to lose weight. There are so many factors that come into play and so many implications that we will look at. And purely just from a practical point of view, when I think or make the statement, I want to lose weight, what are the feelings that are evoked? And I'm pretty sure that for very few, if any people, this evokes a positive feeling. I want to lose weight implies that I have a weight problem, and that in itself makes me feel bad, or it's something that I need to do. I've got to go on to this journey. I've got to do all this work. I've got to make all this effort to lose weight. And again, that does make a person feel definitely worse than good. It is not a very positive prospect. It's not something to look forward to. So making that statement puts me in a negative frame of mind. And being in a negative frame of mind, there's far more chance that there may be some inherent internal resistance to this. And then something that may be a bit more difficult to understand is at a subconscious level, loss is not a positive thought or a positive way of looking at anything. And it's really, really, as I said, far more complicated than just saying I want to lose weight. And we're going to look at, explore a bit more why the statement is so negative in its implications and how we can go about making more empowering statements with regards to this particular goal. So again, saying I want to lose weight is more negative than positive. And the reason is the losing of the weight is a very small part of what I desire. What I really desire would be some of the results and some of the byproducts and some of the benefits of losing weight. And we will explore that in more detail. Why do diets not work? Diets do not work for most people, and most people who have tried diets will tell you that. It may go well for a while, and as the picture indicates, that for most people that is exactly what a diet looks like. I'm going to have to punish myself. I'm going to have to stop eating what I enjoy. I'm going to have to live on salads and vegetables, and it is just an overwhelming, intimidating way of looking at diets. And again, it all goes back to the feeling that is evoked when I think about going on diet and what being on a diet may imply. And that, and I'm going to say this probably a few times during this presentation, evokes negative emotions, which at the same time evoke some kind of internal resistance to the process, which then leads to self-sabotaging behavior. In psychology, there's something that is referred to as the 80-20 principle, or the 18-20 rule. And what that implies is, starting with the 20, that success requires 20% action. In other words, whatever action I take, whatever it is I do, only contributes around about 20% towards my success. The other 80% is determined by my psychology, by what goes on in my mind, and that includes my thought patterns, my belief systems, and even my emotions. In other words, what happens inside of me, what is going on in my mind, in my thinking, that contributes 80%. So what that implies is if I have a supportive psychology, I'm already 80% there, and that will just need 20% of action to help me to achieve the goal. Should my psychology be negative and disempowering, and again, we will explore what that means. That means I only have a 20% chance of success because the actions that I take only contribute around about 20%, and my 80% or my negative psychology could potentially contribute to 80% chance of me failing. So it's really important that I find a balance between what goes on in my thinking about this particular goal, in this context, wanting to lose weight. And I know I might be contradicting myself by saying that making the statement is not positive, but for now, we will use the statement until we look at what is a better way of phrasing it or framing it. So a negative psychology, 20% chance of success, 80% chance of failure. How do I go about balancing the two where I have an 80% positive psychology and 20% empowering action that will lead me to succeeding in this endeavor? We will have a look at that as we go along. Dennis Waitley made this very wise statement. The truth is you don't break a bad habit, you replace it with a good one. And if I want to lose weight, it implies that I have a weight problem. And the the greatest contributing factor to a weight problem would be negative or bad eating habits. Maybe eating junk food or overeating or not eating healthy. These are all habits that develop over time. And I remember years ago, it was quite a big thing talking about it takes 21 days to break a habit. Well, that statement is unscientific. It is not good psychology because that is not how it works. We do not break a habit. A habit is a pattern that is developed, that has become part of who we are, part of our brain for that matter, and part of our personality. And the more we try to break the habit, the more we are inclined to remain stuck in the habit. So we do not break a habit, we replace it with a new one. We replace it with a good one. So what we're going to look at is how can we go about developing good, positive, healthy habits that will contribute towards replacing the old habit over a period of time and help me to achieve and accomplish the goal of losing weight. Every behavior starts with a positive intention. Every behavior, not only my good behaviors, my positive behaviors, every behavior, and that includes the behaviors that may be harmful for me or others for that matter. That includes habits that no longer serve me. All those habits, all those behaviors started off with positive intention. What is that positive intention? At some level, it is to meet a need. Coming back to unhealthy eating habits, there are very specific needs that were met when I started these potentially harmful habits that got me into the place where I am right now. All those habits, all those behaviors were preceded by needs that I was looking to meet. And very often it is an unconscious need that I may not be consciously aware of. So I may be exploring ways and means to meet that need that I may not be aware of. And all of a sudden I find something that works for me, something that makes me feel good, something that gives me what I've been looking for. And I will be inclined to return to that behavior, and over time it forms patterns. So it is really important that my negative, harmful eating habits that have brought me to this place where I may be experiencing weight and the associated health problems, it all started with a positive intention. It all started off by meeting some kind of need. What is the need being met by my eating? Now, eating is a very difficult situation to sort of talk about with regards to the positives and the negatives, because we all have to eat. It is very important. It is a basic human need that we have in order to survive. We have to eat. However, there are so many associated feelings that go with eating. There are pleasures, there are meeting various needs, there's enjoyment, there's feeling good afterwards. And all those are positive. However, very often there are some emotional needs maybe that I meet by eating. So if I want to go on to a journey of change, a journey of changing habits, a journey of developing more positive habits, a journey of losing weight, and particularly if I struggle in that, because some people seem to be able to make the decision, they change their habits, and they live happily ever after. And then there are some of us who may be experiencing real challenges with regards to that. We maybe are able to make the decision, but we're not able to stick to it. And for those, it is important that we start looking at what is my eating giving me over and above the fact that it is providing nutrition for me to survive and be healthy. What needs are met by my eating? What else is it giving me? Really important to explore that. All behaviors and habits are firstly patterned into the brain and secondly programmed into the subconscious. And I refer to underlying principles at the beginning of this presentation. And these are two very, very important underlying factors or principles that we really need to understand with regards to what supports our negative habits and what ultimately leads to the situations that we no longer want. Behaviors, habits, that which I continuously do, and a habit becomes unconscious. I do it by default. I may not even be consciously aware that I'm doing it. And even if it gets to a place where I realize that these behaviors and habits no longer serve me, as a matter of fact, they are more harmful than beneficial, and yet I can't seem to be able to stop them or change them, those behaviors have become habits. And what has happened is they have become patterned into the brain. They have formed pathways in the brain. And that literally means that the neurons or the nerve cells in my brain that contain all the information about my behaviors, in this particular case, eating, what I eat, when I eat, how I eat, who I eat with, why I eat, how often I eat, how much I eat, and all those particular principles and factors become patterned into my brain, in that the neurons that store that information through my continued behavior and habits, they start to make connections, they form neural pathways, and they form networks. And we literally develop networks with regards to our eating habits. And it is near impossible to undo those patterns. We will find ways and means, we will look at finding ways and means to repattern the brain. And those patterns, those neural pathways, those networks in the brain translate into programs in the subconscious mind. And these programs are beliefs that we've developed. And again, at an unconscious level, I may have developed the belief that I need to eat in order to feel good. I need to eat in order to enjoy myself. There is no other way I can find the same level of enjoyment that I find in eating. And these are the particular foods that cause me to feel good. So these are programmed thought patterns and belief systems. So it's almost like a double whammy. My behaviors and habits are patterned into the brain, and they are programmed into the subconscious. And psychologists teach us that these patterns and programs determine 90% of our behavior. They literally control our lives. And the reason being that most of that is unconscious, and they developed as a result of various needs that were met and various benefits that we derived from the behavior originally. And although we get to the place, maybe, as I said, that we realize they no longer serve us, we are stuck in these patterns and behavior because they have been patterned into the brain and programmed into the subconscious. Talking about the subconscious, and the subconscious is simply the deeper part of my mind, the unconscious part of my mind, where my memories reside, where the patterns and the programs reside, and the habits. There's something that is referred to as prime directives of the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind does certain things for us. Now, we didn't have much time to go into the subconscious mind as such, but it's really imperative to understand that the subconscious mind operates from the midbrain, which is the emotional center of the brain, as well as the reptilian brain, which is the instinct or survival center of the brain. And neither parts of the brain have any logic, any reasoning, any understanding, any ability to analyze, to compare. These parts of the brain are conditioned through emotions, through memories, through experiences, and the interpretation is it either serves me or it threatens me. And if there's any kind of threat, it then gets programmed into the reptilian brain, and various triggers will lead to various behaviors that may be inclined to protect me. Two of these prime directives, in other words, the things that the subconscious mind will do for me, are to protect me and to serve me. Now, again, I just want to remind you that I said that the subconscious mind does not have any logic, any reasoning ability. It simply protects me and serves me based on what it has been conditioned to believe through my behavior and the associated emotions with the behavior and the habits. Coming back to unhealthy eating habits, I started eating unhealthy. I started eating certain foods. I started eating a certain amount of food because it gave me something that I needed at the time. It met a specific need. And I then conditioned my subconscious mind that it is good for me to eat this way because it makes me feel a certain way, and that is a way that I need to feel. It helps me to cope with life. It helps me to cope with my emotions. It helps me to escape whatever the need may have been. And from that point, the subconscious mind will continue to, first of all, serve me in taking me back to those behaviors that make me feel good. And now a very important principle to understand, it will then also protect me from trying to change the behavior. Because if I not try and change my eating habits, I want to go and diet, I want to develop new habits, it will do what it can to protect me from the new habits or the new behaviors because it is unknown. It does not have any point of reference of what the benefit of the new behavior will be. And that is one of the various reasons why we tend to keep going back to our old behaviors or relapse, if I can put it that way. Consciously, we understand the potential benefits of changing the behavior. Consciously, we understand the current risks of the behavior, but unconsciously, there is no understanding of that because of the conditioning, because of the patterning, because of the habituation, and the subconscious mind will protect me from changing the behavior and serve me by keeping me in the behavior because of the perceived derived benefits. When there is conflict between the conscious desire, in this case, wanting to change the behavior, wanting to get to a place where I can start to lose weight, and the subconscious program, in other words, the current behavior, the current habits, the current patterns, and the perceived benefits, if there is conflict between these two parts of the brain or parts of the mind, the subconscious always wins because of the ingrained conditioning, because of the associated emotions, the emotions of the experience of what it feels like when I eat like this, and also the emotions of what it feels like when I think about changing, the potential anxiety, uncertainty. So therefore, the subconscious mind will always win. It will always bring me back to the old patterns until I find ways and means of addressing and changing these patterns. There are two principles that come into play with regards to what we're talking about, the whole idea of losing weight or developing new habits and patterns. There are the principles of association and identification, and these are two principles that very often contribute towards keeping us stuck in our old behaviors. Association means when I feel part of a group or part of a movement, I can associate with somebody. There is a camaraderie, there is an understanding. And again, many of these factors, many of these principles are unconscious, so I'm not consciously aware of them. And however, they still play a very important role in what translates in my behavior. So unconsciously, I associate myself with overweight people or people with unhealthy eating habits. And we understand each other, we can support each other, and very often in negative ways because we sympathize with each other. We understand each other's struggles, and very often it's a negative support, if I can put it that way. So we associate with that. We see ourselves as part of that group of society. And in addition to that, there's also the principle of identification, who I see myself to be. I may see myself as an overweight person. I may see myself as a person with bad eating habits. That is how I identify myself. That is how I see myself. And psychology teaches us that how I see myself is how I'm going to remain until I find a way to look at myself in a different light. And I know I keep saying this, but it's really important that we understand that these are very often unconscious, or for the most part, unconscious principles, unconscious processes. So not only do I associate with a particular group of people, I identify myself as being a specific kind of person, and I then internalize my behavior, my habits, my patterns, in this case, my overeating, maybe being overweight, maybe being unhealthy as a result. That becomes part of who I am, and that is who I associate with. And it may be very, very difficult to move away from that, because over time that very much becomes part of who I am. And the moment I try and change who I am, there is this resistance from the subconscious, because this is all formed part of the subconscious conditioning and patterning, and it will protect me from trying to step out of that, and it will serve me by keeping me in these behaviors and patterns. For some people, eating meets an emotional and or psychological need as well as physical need. Of course, first of all, there's the physical need that is met. We all have to eat. When we're hungry, that is what we do. We provide our body with nutrition in order to survive, or in order to thrive. However, food also meets a whole range of emotional and psychological needs. And what this really implies is that in the brain, there are various chemical and electrical processes that create certain feelings and certain emotions. And food contributes towards the release of serotonin ultimately, that it makes me feel good. There's a feeling of satisfaction after I ate, my need has been met. And then if it's something that I really enjoy, there is a release of dopamines, the pleasure or enjoyment chemical. And if I eat with people that I care about, I enjoy the company that I'm eating with, there is the release of oxytocin, and that is sort of the bonding, love chemical, as we refer to it. So it can become a very emotional experience and psychological need. I feel a sense of connection. I feel a sense of support. I feel a sense of satisfaction. And all this is the result of my eating. Now, in essence, there's nothing wrong with any of that. But if I've got deep-rooted, deep-seated, unmet needs, particularly from childhood, and I find certain behaviors that meet those needs in a very strong, very deep way, it might turn into habits and patterns that can ultimately turn into dependence or even addiction. And this is the essence of food addiction. It's not so much I'm addicted to the food, become addicted to the chemical reaction provided by the food in my brain. I become addicted to the feelings provided by the food. I've associated those feelings with eating, and it becomes a problematic behavior for me that I may be stuck in. And the more I try to change the behavior, I go on diets, eat less, or change what I eat, what happens to this need? They remain unmet, and I keep finding myself returning to those behaviors, in this particular case, eating, in order to meet those needs. So very often there's a conflict between wants and needs. I want to lose weight, I want to be healthy, but I need to eat. So that imbalance or that conflict is what ultimately drives me back to my old behavior in order to meet those needs. There is something that the clever people refer to as withdrawal balanced behavior versus approach balanced behavior. That's simply the push and pull factor principle. Withdrawal balanced behavior is me behaving in a way that takes me away from a situation. So I'm going to go on diet. I want to lose weight. And what that implies is I'm withdrawing from the current situation that I'm not happy with. I'm withdrawing from the current situation where I feel overweight, I feel uncomfortable, I feel unhappy about myself, I'm experiencing health issues, and therefore I'm going to start doing something that will move me away from what it is. I'm pushing against what it is that I no longer want to experience. As opposed to approach balanced behavior, I behave in ways that pulls me towards what it is that I want. I move towards this new experience that I would prefer instead of the old experience. Now, again, from a psychological principle, withdrawal balanced behavior tends to sabotage us more. If I focus on what it is that I'm trying to get away from, my focus causes me to feed energy to the particular situation that I'm focusing on. And the more I focus on it, the more I resist it, the more I complain about it, the more I fight against it, the more I remain focused on it, the more energy I feed it, and the more I am inclined to be drawn back to that particular behavior, especially if it is a behavior that has been meeting psychological, emotional, and physical needs for me. Approach balanced behavior, on the other hand, is I create a picture of what it is that I want. Instead, I imagine the amazing benefits of what it is that I want, and I am now ready to start to develop new behaviors, new patterns, new habits that will pull me towards the desired outcome. Withdrawal balanced behavior, negative self-sabotaging behavior that ultimately leads to failure. Approach balanced behavior, empowering and very often inspiring behavior that draws me towards the desire that I want. How do I go about moving away from withdrawal balanced behavior? How do I go about focusing on my approach balanced behavior? In that whole process, the what and why principle. What do I want and why do I want it? What is it that I want? In other words, what is the ultimate result that I want? If I go on a weight loss program, it is not about the weight loss as such. It is about what it will provide me with. What is the desired outcome? What is the place that I ultimately want to get to? And secondly, why do I want to do this? What will be the benefits? What will be the reward? What will be the payoff? Extremely important principle. I just want to say something about the why. Very often people ask the why question from a place of hopelessness and helplessness and frustration. Why me? Why does it always happen to me? Why can't I seem to lose weight? Very negative question. But if we stick to what is referred to the power question, the how and what is it that I want? How do I go about it? And then bring the why into that particular context. Why do I want this? Why do I want to follow this path? What will be the results, the rewards, the outcome for me? A very different way of looking at whatever the goal is that I desire to accomplish. We're going to look at a short video that sort of encapsulates some of the principles that I've mentioned.
Here's what losing weight does to your body and brain. During the first week, you may find it easy to lose weight by simply switching to a healthier diet. But as your metabolism adjusts, you won't burn as many calories as you used to, so losing additional weight will become harder. Making matters worse, as the fat melts away, you'll start to experience an increase in appetite. After a meal, fat cells release a hormone called leptin into the bloodstream. This surge in leptin levels signals to your brain you're full and should stop eating. But with less overall fat, people who lose weight show a measurable dip in leptin. Brain scans of obese patients who had lost 10% of their body weight revealed less leptin leads to increased activity in regions of the brain that control our desire to eat. The end result isn't just an increased appetite, but an even stronger urge to eat fatty, high-calorie foods, because your brain is trying to restore the body's leptin levels to normal. However, fighting that early impulse to gorge on pizza and donuts is worth it in the long run. Besides the decreased risk of heart disease, hypertension, high cholesterol, and type 2 diabetes, scientists studying overweight people discovered that losing just 1 pound of body weight reduces 4 pounds of pressure on knee joints. Losing excess weight also reduces strain on the blood vessels, increases blood flow to the brain, and boosts overall brain function. Several studies have shown that people who underwent weight loss surgery saw an improvement in memory, concentration, and problem-solving skills in as soon as 3 months. Plus, brain scans indicate that people who lost weight and kept it off for 9 months reacted differently when shown images of high-calorie foods than before they lost the weight. The brain regions that process reward, motivation, and taste didn't react as strongly, whereas the areas that promote overall self-control had a boost in activity. So fighting those cravings early on might make them easier to control later. Turns out, like anything else, losing weight can get easier with practice.
So that's basically what I refer to as the push and pull factors, or the approach balanced behavior versus withdrawal balanced behavior, what I have to look forward to, what the benefits will be of achieving my goal. With regards to our way of thinking, the way we view whatever it is that we want to achieve, coming back to losing weight or eating habits, we're going to look at some examples of changing the way that we look at what it is that we want to do. There's a difference between dieting that we hope that will lead to weight loss, as opposed to the lifestyle that will contribute towards producing weight loss. And it all goes back to what I say to myself, how I think about it, that makes me feel hopeful or makes me feel hopeless. So I want to go through these examples here of moving away from the problem perspective to the solution perspective. Dieting, the thinking is I have a list of off-limit foods. In other words, these are the foods that I'm not allowed to eat. Very negative experience, as opposed to, you know what? I can embrace cravings. Initially, my body may be unhappy because it is not getting the foods that it's used to. It will try and remind me of what I want to eat, what I desire to eat, and it's okay. I understand that it is part of the program, so I can embrace that. I'm fixating on scale goals. If I am not a kilogram less by the end of the week than I was today, I'm going to be very, very disappointed. And very often that leads to feelings of disappointment and frustration. Track non-scale goals. Rather look at, am I feeling better? Am I feeling more energetic? And a very important principle is when I focus on these benefits, very often, almost by default, do I start losing the weight because I'm understanding the benefits of the new way of living and the new eating habits that will ultimately give to me what it is that I've been wanting. I have to weigh myself. I have to measure food. It's like all this effort, all this work that goes into it, as opposed to use visual wisdom. Look at what it looks like. Does it look like something that will contribute towards a healthy lifestyle, or does it look like something that will contribute towards an unhealthy lifestyle? And that kind of attitude sort of also puts me into the position to become more sensitive with regards to that. And I'm not saying don't weigh and measure food at all, but the focus on that very often creates more of a negative experience, as opposed to looking at what looks good, what looks right. Count the calories or learn calories. In other words, learn as much as you need to know with regards to what calories are all about, which food contains how many calories. And it's going to be far easier than, instead of measuring all the calories, counting all the calories before the time, which creates a negative experience. You learn eventually, well, these foods will contribute towards a reduction in calories. So, and as I said in the beginning, it all just goes back to a way of looking at things and a way of thinking. Focus on the end goal. Focus on losing weight. And very often I'm so obsessed with the end goal. And if there's any kind of feedback that shows I'm not achieving the end goal, I'll end up feeling frustrated and angry with myself. Instead, focus on the immediate benefits. I'm beginning to feel more energetic. I'm beginning to feel healthier. And I'm slowly beginning to show signs of losing weight. It's not about the losing weight. It's about the experience as a result or the process of losing weight. So focus on the immediate benefits that are already noticeable. Exercise to burn calories. Oh my God, I have to exercise so much because I want to burn so many calories. Exercise as a form of self-care. It makes me feel good to exercise. It helps my body to release a whole range of feel-good chemicals. I feel energized. Very, very different way of looking at exercise. The intention to get skinny, I want to be thin, I want to lose all this weight, as opposed to the intention to feel good. And I'm sure you've noticed a pattern so far. It all goes back to the feeling. What do I want to feel once I've achieved this goal? What am I feeling during this process of achieving the goal, as opposed to the goal itself? I want to feel good. I'm doing this in order to make myself feel better. I'm doing this as a form of self-care. Eat to restrict calories. There are certain foods that I'm not allowed to eat because of the calories. And the more I think of the food I'm not allowed to eat, the more I want to eat it. I'm supposed to eat to nourish the body. I want to eat in order to feel healthy. I want to eat in order to feed my body in such a way that it serves and helps me. And your brain and your body will start to guide you towards that. You will start to feel, oh, this food was very tasty, but it didn't leave me feeling good afterwards. As opposed to, you know what, I never thought I really liked this kind of food, but I feel so good after eating it. And that is all part of this whole process of retraining, reprogramming, and repatterning. Pursue perfection. I have to achieve this goal. I have to look good. No, aim for progress. Each day I'm doing better. Each day I'm moving closer towards my goal. It relieves a lot of the underlying stress feelings that we have as a result of the first column. And the moment we start to experience relief from stress, we start to feel better. And an interesting fact about stress, the more stressed I am, the less able I am to think clearly, because it literally impacts my cognitive abilities in the brain because of an overload of stress hormones in the brain. Whereas the right-hand column is more focused on solutions, is more focused on the current experience, is more focused on feeling better. There is a reduction of stress hormones in the brain. I can think more clearly, and I can actually make better plans and decisions to continue pursuing this particular goal of getting to a place where I can feel good. A very powerful statement. I reduce and eliminate the need for overeating by developing new behaviors and habits that meet my emotional, psychological, and physiological needs. So by creating new habits, I start to let go of the old habits. And as you can see, this statement is not about needing to lose weight. It's about creating reasons to no longer need to do what it was that I did that caused me to gain the weight. The new behaviors, the new habits, the meeting of my emotional needs, the meeting of my psychological needs, the meeting of my physiological needs in healthy ways, over time will reduce the need for the old behavior. I'm not stopping the behavior and leaving the needs unmet. I'm finding ways to meet the needs in a healthier way, and in that process, I can let go of the old behavior. Again, a very different perspective, a very different paradigm with regards to why am I doing what I'm doing. So I'm not on a program to lose weight. I'm on a program to find healthy ways to meet the needs. And in this whole process, I'll be able to let go of the behavior that will contribute towards me losing the weight. All goals consist of certain principles, and in this particular case, the goal of losing weight. And I'm sure we've now got to the place where we realize it's not about the losing weight, it's about getting to a place where I feel good as a result of having lost the weight. So the particular goal is really determined by these four principles. There is my intention. What is it that I want? Why do I want this? It goes beyond I want to lose weight. I don't want to lose weight. I want to experience the amazing results. I want to experience the amazing rewards. I want to experience the amazing benefits. That is my intention. I want to get to a place where I feel good physically, emotionally, psychologically. I feel good about myself. I feel healthy. I feel satisfied and content. That is the what and the why. And in any goal, it is imperative that we figure out what it is that we want and why it is that we want that. The goal itself, in this case, losing weight, simply becomes the vehicle. It is not the actual goal. Attention, what are we focusing on? Are we focusing on the current situations? Are we focusing on the problem? Are we focusing on the weight? Are we focusing on the need to lose the weight? As opposed to, are we focusing on what it is that we want to achieve? Are we focusing on what it is that we want the rewards that we want to derive from the behavior? Are we focusing on the progress that we are making in this whole process? Hugely important principle. Our beliefs. Do I believe that I can do it? Do I believe that I'm a failure? Do I believe that I'm good enough? Do I believe that I need to eat in order to feel good? And there are various techniques and tools available, one being cognitive behavioral therapy. That is a very good avenue to explore with regards to addressing these beliefs. And again, it's very difficult or near impossible to undo these beliefs. We learn to develop new beliefs through thinking differently. And over time, they will replace the old beliefs, more empowering beliefs about my abilities, beliefs about what is good for me, beliefs about what I deserve. And then my values. What is important to me? Is good health important to me? Is feeling good important to me? Is looking good important to me? Is commitment and perseverance important to me? So I need to really explore what are the values and how will my values contribute towards my new behavior, and how will my new behavior support my values. So my intention, what it is and why I want it. Attention, what is that I'm focusing on this process. My beliefs, what are the core beliefs that either serve me or hinder me in this process. And my values, what is important for me to explore and to express in this whole new process. The truth is, I do not want to stop overeating. That is not the goal. I want to experience freedom and self-determination because I was able to change my behavior. I want to experience good health as the result of my behavior. I want to experience a higher level of energy as the result of my behavior. I want to look good as the result of my behavior. I want to feel good about myself as a result of my behavior. And again, the principles of association, I start to associate with that kind of way of looking at things, or start to associate with people who have accomplished these goals. I'll start to identify with these particular factors. This is who I am, potentially. This is who I want to experience myself to be. And these intentions will be what ultimately provide the seeds that will create this particular future. I start to see myself the way that I want to be. I start to associate with people who have accomplished these goals. And it's all about recreating myself. It's all about reinventing myself. It's all about repatterning. It's all about reprogramming. It's all about developing new behaviors and new habits based on these principles. So I hope there's a better understanding of how negative it is to say that I want to lose weight. Far more empowering, I want to go through a process that will help me to get to a place where I can feel good, feel energized, feel healthy, And I understand in this process, I may need to learn new behaviors, new habits, new patterns. I may need to find healthier ways of eating. I may need to find healthier ways of practicing certain things in my life, different ways of thinking, because I understand that the new behaviors, the new patterns, the new habits will provide me with what it is that I'm really looking for. And in that process, the weight loss will become more of a byproduct than a goal. That is the end of our presentation. If there is anything that you were able to relate to, or any questions or any queries, you are more than welcome to direct that to me at john.ttklife@gmail.com. I also provide online coaching with regards to any kind of goal that anybody may have or anything that you wish to achieve. I provide a 30-minute free introductory session where you tell me what it is that you're looking for. I tell you what it is that I provide, and you can then decide whether or not it's a match, and then whether you would like to continue with this process. Again, you can contact me at john.ttklife@gmail.com. I wish you an amazing journey as you continue to explore ways and means to design the life you desire and deserve.